And in that moment, as he slowly closed the distance between them, he became her entire world. This time, his kiss wasn't light. He didn't tickle, he devoured. He didn't tease, he possessed. His hand slipped under her, cradling her derriere, pressing it up against his arousal. "Tonight," he whispered, his voice hoarse and hot in her ear, "I will make you mine."
Hi! So I decided to do this video because I saw Bridgerton in my local Costco one day, and then I was like, oh, Jessica, this might make for a good video, so maybe you should try like reading it, it'll be so much fun. And I read it and it wasn't fun. I feel very awkward using this camera because I feel like every time I look at myself in the screen, I'm looking away from the camera, but then I'm actually just trying to look at that camera, then I feel really creepy because I'm just looking straight at you. It's, okay, it's fine. I honestly expected it to be hilariously bad, but it wasn't. Like, I thought it was meh overall. So I haven't done one of these videos in a long time, like a nice, like very, like, just chill sort of like, you know, video where I just talk about the book that I read in a very like loosely and unscripted fashion. I've been doing a lot of scripted videos lately, and honestly it's kind of like tiring and stuff. I honestly forgot how squeaky this chair can be. So I want to start off by saying that I did actually make a video about Bridgerton, the TV show, when that was like the hot thing to do. Then I ended up deleting the video because I didn't really like it that much. It was just a kind of rushed video that I did just because, you know, that was kind of the thing that people talked about at the time. Honestly, I thought it would be, this video be more of like, you know, about just how shit the book is, but honestly this is just gonna be a regular video talking about parts of the book, maybe just going like into about what the book is about a little bit. And I think I just have some thoughts about the book, and I think like, you know, I can make a cool little video out of it. So yeah, I'm a bit nervous doing this, honestly. It's my first time doing like a non-scripted video in so long. So the first thing I want to talk about is that the book is like surprisingly slow to begin. Like, it takes a really long time for like the plot to even really start. Like, the first things first, we get introduced to every single one of the Bridgertons in like the most boring way possible. It's like at this big event where like everybody's there, and you get like this really weird introduction where like they introduce one Bridgerton brother and another Bridgerton brother, and it's very weird for this book in particular because none of the brothers except for Anthony are really in it that much. They make like a couple appearances and that's it, and I think the reason for that is again because they're sequels and you kind of have to like put them in and just introduce them, but I feel like they got a little bit too much time and spent too much time to flesh them out, and they really went nowhere. It was just, to me, it just made the story feel really bogged down and slow, and it just feels like, you know, nothing really happens a lot of time when it's just we're getting to character introduction. We're getting introduced to the Featheringtons in this novel, and they don't do anything. They're just prop pieces that are there sometimes, and they get mentioned occasionally, and it's just not really like a really interesting thing. Same with Lady Danbury. She's also just introduced randomly, and she's not really a character of any consequence. She has nothing to do with Simon's backstory. She's just a random old lady that Simon likes, and it's kind of weird because in the show it makes a lot more sense because Lady Danbury was the one who helped Simon overcome his speech impediment, and you know, that makes sense. It's like cool character moments and stuff. But in the novel, it's just some random nurse that Simon had when he was a child that helped him overcome his speech issues, and it's just, and she's never brought up again. She's literally in the first, like, she's in the prologue, and then she's never there ever again. So one of the things that really bothered me in this book was that every scene got dragged out for much longer than it needed to be. Like, for example, the scene where Daphne punches Nigel Burbook. So obviously that scene, it's like, oh, drama, she punched someone, and then Simon comes in and he talks to Daphne and is like, oh, do you want me to help you with him? And they kind of go back and forth between, is Daphne gonna help Simon with carrying Nigel to Simon's carriage, or is she isn't? And this conversation goes on for around 10 pages. They just keep on going back and forth, never really resolving the issue, and they're putting in like little bits of like flirting in between, and it's like just not, it's not very cute. It's just a little bit annoying because it's like, wow, you're talking so long about this one thing that could literally just be solved in like one sentence.
What are we to do with him? She asked. You did say you aspire to be rescued. What do you want to do? I suppose we could just. For goodness sake, isn't it? I really didn't want to leave him here. It seemed rather cruel. You will wait in the library while I'm gone. In the library? In the library, he repeated. You go back to the library. Are you certain? I thought you wanted me to go to the library. I knew she wasn't supposed to notice such things. But really, was it her fault that the current fashions dictated such snug breeches? We'll leave him here while you wait in the library. I'd rather not have to drag him out until I have a carriage waiting. Do you need help writing him, or should forget this entire evening? I'm leaving. Actually, a bit of help. I thought you were going to help me. Really? Why, I was sure you'd be delighted. And why is that? I have a better idea. Let's just leave him here.
I thought the whole reason for why these two people couldn't be together was a little bit weird and a little bit like strange and kind of just not that interesting at all, because the actual reason for why Simon and Daphne can't get together is because Simon's brother doesn't really want them to. It's very silly. I feel like it's very silly. It doesn't feel like there's any sort of like drama in that. It just feels like it's kind of a weird conflict, like, oh, you can't date my sister because you're my best friend and I know you're a shithead or something like that. It's really weird how they present it, and it's like it would have made a lot more sense if it was something else. I like it the most when like characters can't get together because of like their internal conflicts, you know. It just feels a lot more realistic, because I feel like most people, they don't have a really extremely controlling brother that refuses you to let them date their best friend, which is just strange. I don't know. It would have made more sense if he was more like a father. If it was Daphne's dad that refused, it would have made more sense, because, you know, it's her dad and maybe her dad has reasons or something like that. But it's like her brother who refuses to let her date someone. It's very strange. It makes me feel like the entire plot conflict was kind of flimsy and not really well thought out. And honestly, I hate Anthony as a character. He's just so fucking boring. I'm sorry. He's so boring. And he's like, in the books, he's even more insufferable than in the show, which is good for the show. He was so incredibly obnoxious in the books that he kept being like, I'm gonna kill you, Simon, if you touch Daphne. And he says it over and over again. And it's very funny because it's like, okay, great. What I don't like about the song was that they try to make like Anthony's threats, like I'm gonna kill you, Simon, into like an actual thing, and then they actually try to get into a duel, and then Anthony actually wants to like kill Simon, and it's just very hilarious to me. This is all because of like some marriage and stuff. Like, it was just a giant turn off for me. I thought it was ridiculous, and I just didn't understand the appeal of that at all. I didn't understand the appeal of that to make Anthony any more sympathetic or to make Simon any sympathetic. It just seemed very contrived, and I was like, okay, so this is obviously just something that the author did because she wanted Daphne and Simon to get married, but how could she do that with Simon's really weird character flaw and, you know, Daphne not knowing about that. It was, the whole dual part was just really weird. It felt very contrived, and like I thought that when I was watching like the show on Netflix too. I was like, this is very weird and sudden. Like, I thought it was just like really funny and strange. I was like, this doesn't sound like something that's just supposed to be happening. So I do wish most of the drama came from the two leads themselves, like misunderstandings or like, you know, a lot more breakups and getting back together, and just, you know, a lot more drama in that area in general, which I think they did a lot better in the show. Like, in the show, I think Daphne and Simon actually do break it off at one point, and it's great, and it shows that, you know, Simon has conviction, and he actually does have an issue with marrying Daphne. He doesn't want to do that, and he's not a shithead who just continues to romance her. You know, when he clearly does not want to marry her. Yeah, so in the show, it makes a lot more sense when he breaks off with her. In the books, they obviously don't do that because they kind of stay together the entire time until Anthony finds out that they kissed, and then he tries to kill Simon, and it's just a huge kerfuffle, and it's kind of funny, like very comedic in a way that, wow, this this should not be allowed. Like, this is just really, really dumb, and I don't know why it's allowed. So, very funny in that regard. Now, doing makeup and talking is sometimes a very difficult skill. The thing I love about like romance novels, I mean, I don't read a lot. If I do, it's usually like Jane Austen or some like mangas or something. I don't really read a lot of romance. Usually, when I enjoy it, it's because it's like extremely slow burn type of stuff. Like, I really enjoy slow burns. I think that they're the best things ever. And this novel just didn't really tickle my fancy, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I'm a bit biased when I say that. Because they did the fake dating, I feel like it would have really benefited if they, you know, committed to making it like a slowly, like, them realizing that they're falling in love with each other. Like, at first they're like repulsed that like, oh, this is my brother's best friend, ew, this is my best friend's sister, ew. And we wouldn't like each other, but instead they're immediately fucking attracted to each other and want to fuck each other 24/7. And it's just like, oh. It's just like, there's no drama. That's the thing that surprised me most about this book. Like, except for the very controversial thing that happens like near the end of the book, there's very little drama. There's no internal conflict within Daphne that, oh, should I date him or not? She kind of just goes straight from, oh, he's kind of cute, so I want to fuck him, and there's only him in my life. He's the only man I'm ever gonna love, and that's it. And that's literally her for the rest of the entire book. Like, it goes from they meet, they fake date, and immediately to them liking each other so much they can't keep their hands off each other, and then they do the weird duel scene, which is very weird, and they get married, and then they have newlywed stuff, you know, like a little bit of that stuff, and then almost like a couple pages after, which is really near the end of the book at this point, Daphne finds out and the secret's out, and they fight, and then at the end they make up, and that's pretty much the end of the book, and they have a kid at the end, and that's it. Like, it just felt really underwhelming. There was no really drama between Simon and Daphne until the very end, and there was like a little bit of insecurity on Daphne's part, like, oh, what if he doesn't like me, blah blah blah. And I do like, you know, insecurities shown on characters, but it just felt very not dramatic at all. Now, this might be just like a personal thing that I don't really enjoy, but Simon gets really possessive of Daphne. It's kind of weird. Like, there's this part where they're having sex, right? And then she's like, oh, don't you like it that you're the only person who's ever done this to me? And he gets like, yeah, like, you're all mine. Like, no one else can ever have you because you're my wife. And he gets, after they get married, he gets really possessive of her, and you can, like, you read like in his internal monologue, he's like, oh, she's my wife now. Like, she's mine. I can do whatever I want. Like, I can't let any other man touch her or do anything. And it's like, yeah, it might be a little bit like protective, you can argue that, but I found it a little bit creepy and a little bit just extremely like possessive, and I find that really not attractive in a guy. And also when they fight, he says this line that's like, I own you, Daphne, I can do whatever I want. And he also has this weird ownership about like, oh, this is my house, you know, you have to obey my rules here. And it's very strange, and I think it's really weird, and I don't like it.
She was his wife now. She was his. Everything was different. No means no. You are my wife. You will sleep with me. Get out of my bed. I own this room. You're my wife. You. Legally, I own you.
I also want to talk about how I think it's like fucking hilarious that Daphne can climax from just penetration. Like, honestly, girl, I wish I was you. So I've been dancing around the incident of, the incident. So I'll get to it now. It's very weird for me to talk about because I think it's just such a weird thing. Like, I don't know, I don't understand why that had to be in there. Like, you already had the conflict between Daphne and Simon about Simon kind of lying about not being able to have kids, and I thought that was a good third act conflict. Like, you know, he didn't really technically lie. He didn't want kids, so that could be the same thing as you can't have kids. And he did warn her that they wouldn't have any children. And maybe, yeah, he wasn't being entirely truthful, and yeah, he's still a bit douchebag of manipulating her like that. So yes, there is conflict there. He's wrong, and she's right, but he's not that wrong. So it's like there's still room for, you know, them getting back together. But then Julia Quinn adds in like the random like weird scene of her essentially touching him in his sleep. It's really strange. And then she fucks him and then she forces him to come inside her, and it's very, very weird because she's doing it because she wants a child and she knows he's never going to do it consensually, so she decides to just get it from him forcefully. It's very weird because it dances around consent and all that stuff, and it's sort of like the final issue in the book, and it's really weird because the characters don't seem to think that that part was the big deal. Daphne doesn't feel bad about doing that. Simon doesn't feel bad because Daphne did that. He feels bad because she made him stutter after that, because he was so mad that she had done this thing that he stuttered, and he's mad that he stuttered, and that's the reason that he ran off to some other place. And that's the reason that they give in the book about him being angry. It's not that, oh, she manipulated me when I was intoxicated. It's not that, oh, she made me do something that I didn't want to do. She forced me to do this thing that I didn't give consent for. But instead the conflict is she made me stutter, and I can't believe she has that power over me, and I can't believe like she looked at me like I was an idiot or something like that. And it's just really weird because they don't address the situation properly. And I think like, yeah, if you're gonna put a situation like this in your book, you should explore it properly. I think that, you know, exploring the topic of consent between like couples who are already like, you know, married, or couples who are in a romantic relationship already, exploring consent in those, you know, relationships is interesting, because you don't really see too many books about that. You don't see that many stories about even of men being sexually assaulted or anything about that. Like, I think this incident could have been a really interesting one if it was just the focus of the novel, and it would have made for very interesting conversations, and you could write a lot of stuff around that would make a very meaningful and interesting novel. But instead they kind of use it as like a weird thing to kind of level the morality of Simon and Daphne. So, you know, Daphne did something wrong too, but so did Simon. But it's like Daphne's thing is like nearly unforgivable, while Simon's kind of just like, oh, he had trauma, he can explain himself. But Daphne's thing was a lot worse, and it's like, if Julia Quinn wanted to put in such a heavy topic, she should have explored it properly within the text, and I just don't think the book did that heavy of a topic justice.
No, he groaned, pulling her closer. I want to be in your heart. I want... His entire body shuddered when their skin touched. I want to be in your soul. Oh, Simon, she sighed, sinking her fingers into his thick, dark hair. You're already there.